Okay, so up here, this is the pituitary gland, or the hypophysis is the other word for that. The infundibulum, you guys remember that from AP1? It's a stalk that leads to the pituitary. Inside of that, you can't see it on the chart, but inside of that is a network of capillaries called the hypophyseal portal system. Also inside of that is a nerve bundle, okay, so axons of nerves, and it's called the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract. On the test, I'd ask those as questions, as in what are the capillaries inside the infundibulum, or what are the axons inside the infundibulum, and you'd have to give me whichever one is correct. The adenohypophysis means the anterior pituitary, so there in the front, or from the side view, there it is there. Microscopic view, it would be this orange part. So this is the adenohypophysis. The anterior lobe would be just the very front of it. Back here, this would be the intermediate lobe. So the purple with the circles in it. The neurohypophysis is referring to the posterior pituitary. That's this back here. See how it's got little neurons in it? So it's called the neurohypophysis. Or there it is back there, or right there. Okay. Pineal gland, do you guys remember that from AP1? The pineal gland or the pineal body, it's way back here on the back of the thalamus there. Thymus is over the sternum. See these little orange blobs right here? That's the thymus. The adrenal glands are sitting right on top of the kidneys. So there's one right there, there's another right there. But over here, we have the section of the adrenal glands, so you can see all the areas. The cortex is the outer layer. If you think of like an eggshell, that's the cortex. And then the medulla is the inside of the egg, like the egg yolk. Okay. On here, we've got the cortex at the bottom, so starting from this brown layer all the way down, and then the medulla would be the pink. Okay. Now the layers of the cortex, if we start at the very bottom, see how the cells are really compacted here and they're a slightly darker brown? That's the zona glomerulosa. Here where the cells start to spread out a little bit and they get a little bit lighter brown, that's the zona reticularis, or I'm sorry, the zona fasciculata. And then up here where they're darker brown is the zona reticularis. So zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, zona reticularis. Then we're in the medulla. The cell type in there are chromaffin cells. I'm not so much going to point to those on here, just know the cell type in the medulla. Okay. Pancreas, right here, there's the pancreas. Here it is microscopically. See the circle right here, the big peach circle? That's an islet of Langerhans, or you could call it the pancreatic islet. Out here, these purple cells would be called acini. Okay. In the islet, you have alpha and beta cells. There's also delta cells and F cells in there, which we'll talk about in lecture. I'm not going to point out the alpha and beta cells on here, so you can just actually cross those out for now. We'll talk about them in lecture instead, so they make more sense. Thyroid gland up in the neck or under thyroid cartilage, which is your Adam's apple. So that's the thyroid gland. Right lobe, left lobe, and this little bridge at the bottom, like the bottom of the U right here, that's called the isthmus. Microscopically, here it is here. See these circles right here, the big purple circles? Those are the follicles. So each cell that helps to make up that follicle is a follicular cell. Inside of there, you have a fluid called colloid. And then outside of the follicle, see how there are these little cells that aren't part of the follicle at all? Those are the C cells.
What are the C cells?
These little tiny cells that are outside of the follicle. Parathyroid glands are located on the back of the thyroid gland. So this is a back view of the lobes of the thyroid. See those four little brown, those like little tiny beans? They're number 111 and 119. Those are the parathyroid glands. The cell in there is called chief cells, and we'll talk about that in lecture too, so don't worry about that, the chief cells for lab. Okay. Testes. All you need to know in the testes are in this picture. See how you have these circles again, these tubules? Outside of the tubules, you have these sort of peachish color cells. These are the interstitial cells. Okay. And then the rest is on the ovary, which we did on the model, so don't worry about the ovary here. Use the model for that. I like the model better. So that's the chart.